Going to sublimate onto some 100% polyester adult shirts, actually made to fit me. Two different brands. One is Sublivie, which is a brand I use quite a bit, and then just a generic 100% polyester t-shirt. And the generic one here is cheaper than the Sublivie one, but we're going to see what kind of results we get and find out. I can already say the generic one has a lot thinner material, but it says it has moisture management, so I think that means when you sweat. We're going to get into this coming up. Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome to the loft above the shop, and as I mentioned at the very beginning here, we're going to sublimate onto some adult t-shirts today, and these are size extra large, and they're actually going to be for me to wear. I'm using some retro beer logos from Ham's Beer from back in the early days, and I do mean early days. We're talking like 1950s, 1960s. I particularly happen to like that beer, but it is coming back into popularity, and I've got a couple other logos I want to do. I'm going to do another shop t-shirt, and I'm going to compare these two types of shirts that I've got sitting here. This generic brand is about $2 cheaper than the Sublivie shirts. I've used the Sublivies on quite a few things. I have done a test print on one of these, and I'll put it on here in a little bit. So a little bit of this might be beyond the scope of a lot of people. I'm going to be using 11 by 17 sublimation paper. You'll need a printer that will actually be able to handle that, and most little desktop printers do not, unless you get one of the larger format ones, and they're going to get to be expensive. I have a Sawgrass SG1000 with the bypass tray, so I can actually go up to 13 by 19 if I want to. As I said, 11 by 17, you can do this on 8.5 by 11. All the procedures will be the same. Also, since I'm using this large format, my little 15 by 15 heat presses won't be used. I'll be using my big heat press from Heat Press Nation. It's a signature series. It's a 16 by 20 bed on it. And it's also auto open. I really like that. We'll go through this step by step. So first, you're probably wondering, how do you put the graphics together for a Sawgrass printer? Well, you can print right out of your graphics program and send it to the Sawgrass Print Manager, and most of the time it comes out okay, but sometimes weird things happen. It gets rotated, it gets cropped. So I do it in Creative Studio, setting up a custom canvas. We'll go to the computer, I'll show you how I do that. I'll give you a little bit of an overview on how I create graphics on the larger format papers, and I do this in Sawgrass's Creative Studio. Of course, I'm going to be using my Sawgrass SG1000 printer. We'll go over here, click on Start Creating, and it gives you this little 8 by 8 blank. That's not what I want. So I go down here to Custom Canvas. And to make this easy for my US viewers, we'll do this in inches. I'm going to be using 11 by 17 paper. This 11 by 17. Create. Okay, there is my canvas. Okay, I have a few pictures uploaded here. And I'm going to be doing a retro beer shirt. And I've already got one made of the little Ham's guy up here for the front. I think I'm going to put this one here on the back. Now, as you can see, that's a landscape picture. Click on that. I can go over here. I'll get rid of that. And I can rotate that, like so. And I don't really need to do a whole lot more with this one here. It fits the paper pretty well for what I want to do. So I just go up here to print. Okay, I'm going to the bypass tray, and US Tabloid is 11 by 17 in case you didn't know that. And the materials I'm going to be putting this on is polyester. Texprint R, I'm not using Texprint paper, I'm using Hippo sublimation paper here for this, but the Texprint R setting works fine. There's nothing else here I need to mess with. So I just click print. Of course, I'm going to have this mirrored. I have the mirror thing. That's checked by default. For some projects, you may need to uncheck that. This will do its little loading thing. Okay, it's been queued. So what does that mean? Means it's being sent to the Sawgrass Print Manager. So you have to wait a minute or so here before that'll pop up. Okay, as you can see, it comes up down here. It's loading the file. And this will give you a preview of it and everything. So there it is. And as you can see, it's mirrored. And you can double check your settings here if you like. And I just click print. And it sends it to my printer. Okay, so while I'm in here, there's a couple more I want to get made up. We'll take one here that will remain vertical. That would be this one here. As you can see, it's not quite in the center. We can scooch that over just a little bit. And I like the size of that just the way it is. I don't need to change the scale or anything. I can just go up here to print. Of course, we'll want to mirror this. It'll be coming off the bypass tray. Again, you need to check your paper size. And of course, we'll be going on polyester because we're going to crank out some shirts today. Same with the paper. We'll hit print. That'll go to the queue just as it did before. So now we just have to wait a minute for the print manager to come up. And there it is. So we're all good there. All of our settings. We'll get a preview here in a moment. There's our preview. Of course, it's mirrored. We'll send that one to the printer. Well, the one disadvantage with your custom canvas is you can't really save it as a project. Well, you can and you can't. I just tend to make them as I need them. So the next one I want to make here, trash this. I'm going to use the same canvas, 11 by 17. I'm going to use this old retro Ham's Beer sign right here. That fits in there pretty well just like it is. I could scale that up just a little bit by dragging a corner out. I like that. So we can go over here and hit print again. Polyester, text print R for the paper choice. It's mirrored. Page size. That's tabloid. Print. This will be queued again, and then I'll need to wait for the print manager to open. It doesn't take all that long, but it can be a little bit of a nuisance sometime if you're trying to crank out a bunch of these. If you're doing a lot of the same one, you can just hit the number of copies you want to print, and you don't have to go through this every time. Well, there it is. It pops up. Get a little preview here. You can double check all your settings. And of course, you can see it's mirrored. Send that to the printer. And there it is, our old Ham's Beer retro beer sign. Okay, I'm going to be starting out with one of the generic shirts here. And the heat press is still warming up. There's a couple prep things that I do here. One of them is to put a piece of paper inside the shirt in case the ink bleeds through, because you never know. So what I do to make this easy is I take a piece of butcher paper and just loosely fold it in half. Then I can slip it inside, and once it's inside, I'll unfold it and flatten it out. If you try to just put it in there flat, you're going to be fighting it. And you want to have that paper in the area where you're going to be having your graphic. And depending on the size of your graphic, if you're using 8.5 by 11, you need to start about 3 inches down from the collar. And I actually have a little layout thing for that, but I'm not going to use it here. This is going to be very easy to center everything because of the way the label is on this. And I can see already there's a little bit of lint on there. There's an errant thread. So you do not want any lint, because if you have lint, you have little purple spots. So you will need a lint roller. These are inexpensive. This one's actually from Dollar Tree. It does the job. Now the next thing I do is I do a little bit of a pre-press. The press is still warming up. It's only up to about 300 right now, or 290. We're going to do a little bit of a pre-press here, get any moisture out of there. And I don't lock it down, I just close the lid and hold it here for a little bit. And if you're wondering what our sublimation temperature and time is, it's 385 degrees. It'll be for 40 seconds. We'll bring this back out. Now, to know where the center of your shirt is, that's important. And this particular one, because of the way the label is up here, I can actually center this just by looking at it. Otherwise, you would need to fold your shirt and exactly in half and make a slight press on it so you would have a crease to be able to get that right in the center. So I'll get my graphic here ready. Okay, for this particular shirt, I'm using this one here. This will be on the front, and I need to get that aligned in the center. As I said, because of the way the label is on this one's going to be easy to get straight. The next thing you'll need to do is put a couple pieces of heat tape on there so that your image does not shift as you're moving it around on the tray or closing the press or anything else. You do not want that to move because it'll cause some ghosting, or you may end up with your image on the shirt crooked. And I just roll this back in, put a piece of paper over the top, protect the top plating, and as soon as the press warms up here, we're close, we'll press this. Okay, so we're up to temperature. Lock this down, 385 degrees for 40 seconds. There's our hams bare. I'll let this cool for just a second and then I'll flip it over. The paper that's inside I use to protect the other side. I will not take that out, I'll just leave it in there. Okay, that's cooled off enough that it's comfortable to grab everything. Of course, I have a Teflon sheet here on the base, which likes to slide off. Someday I'll get that clipped down there. Well, let's turn the shirt over. I need to get my paper slid up just a little farther in this one, and one of the advantages with this generic shirt is that it doesn't have a tag in it. It has a label printed inside, and because the shirt is so thin, I can see exactly where the center of this shirt is. So I'll get my things lined up here. So you want to do the lint roller. You absolutely do not want any lint on your shirts when you're doing this, or you will have dots. For some reason they end up being purple most of the time. And I'm going to do just a momentary press on there to take out the wrinkles. Oh, I'm going to use a retro sign for the back of this. That's this one here. So I need to get this here centered. And this is, like as I said, with this generic shirt and the way that tag is back there, this is very, very easy to get lined up straight. And a couple pieces of heat tape. Sheet of paper over that. Again, 385 for 40 seconds. Old retro hams beer. And once it's cooled off a bit, you could take your paper out of the inside. And of course I'll be using this again because nothing bled through anywhere. It's a perfectly good piece of paper. So we'll use that on the next shirt as I switch brands. There's the back of it. And there's the front. In fact, I might put that on. So here's the one I just made. Now I'm going to switch over and we're going to do shirts with the Sublivie shirts. Get this opened up here. Oh, it's something you need to be aware of is the tag that is on the neck of the shirt. Separated here. This tag right here will turn brown if that gets into the heat press. So for that reason I always cut this off. It's got machine wash warm, normal cycle, non-chlorine bleach, tumble dry low, cool iron if necessary, that kind of thing. I always cut those off, that and they make my neck itch. I don't like tags on the back of my t-shirts. So we'll get rid of that. And just for a comparison, side by side, this is just a little bit whiter than this white is. Not that this is off-white or anything, it's just that this is a little bit brighter. These are also somewhat thin, but not as thin as the one I have on here, but this is supposed to have moisture management, which means the sweat will just disappear. Yeah, probably not. So, take this over to the heat press and we'll get one of these here prepped. be using the same time and temperature. Okay, again, the same type of prep. I have my paper already inside, my lint roller. Sure we have no lint on here. I'll do a little bit of a pre-press here to make sure there's no moisture in the shirt, take out some of the wrinkles. But because this doesn't have that label in the back, like the one I have on with that printed thing in there, I'm going to have to make a center mark. And I'll show you how we do that. By taking this shirt and folding it exactly in half, I've got to get that Teflon sheet anchored down. I get this folded exactly in half here. It's down here so you can see what I'm doing. And I just pull this back and press that spot for just a little bit. That'll give me my center mark. And I can lay this back out flat. The way it does not crease my paper, it leaves a little bit of a crease in the neck of the shirt so you know where the center is. The graphic for the front of this one is working on my 6-pack. It's a horizontal. I want to get that a few inches down, about 3 inches down from the collar. I can line my center up both ways. Everything looks good. Couple pieces of heat tape. And same setting, 385, 40 seconds. And there we go, working on my 6-pack. Let this cool off a second and I'll flip it over. Okay, this is cooled off enough to be able to handle easily. Leaving the paper inside. Let's flip it around here. Now, one advantage I have here is I can still see my crease mark up here at the top. I don't know, you may not be able to see that, but so that'll let me center this again. The graphic I'm using on the back of this one is what happens at the campground. Well, you'll see. Gets laughed about all year long though. So because this is not clear at the top, I need to do a little bit of positioning here. Get everything centered up and straight. Make sure I don't have anything folded up underneath. And I'm glad I checked that because there was. A couple pieces of heat tape to hold it in place. Sheet of paper over the top. Again, same setting, 385, 40 seconds. And there we are. What happens at the campground? It's laughed about all year long. I'm going to do one more here just to show the steps again in case you missed something. Again, there's a piece of paper inside so that should the ink happen to bleed all the way through, it doesn't go onto the back. Do you need to sublimate stuff on both sides? No, you don't. I just do because I like it that way. Of course, paper inside, lint roller. Do not forget this, because first time you do and you ruin a shirt because it's got a bunch of little speckles on it, you won't make that mistake again. The sand, do a little bit of a pre-press. That little crease there to get the center mark. Doesn't take much. I've got my graphic all centered up there again. Do not forget the heat tape, because if your image shifts, you'll either end up with a crooked or you'll get some ghosting. Doesn't take much. This paper again over the top. It's my shop logo on a shirt. Let that cool. I'm going to actually put a beer graphic on the other side. Setting this particular one up horizontal. If you are doing horizontal on a XL shirt or on this type of heat press, this is 16 wide, the paper 17, so don't print clear to the edge or you'll have a problem. Again, there's a piece of paper inside. Protect this in case the ink should go all the way through. Yes, the temperature always drops a couple degrees when you first close the press. That's normal. And steam is normal too. And there's another retro beer sign. So that's kind of an overview on how I do these large format shirts. I did do a little bit of a comparison here. The one I have on is a generic 100% polyester t-shirt, and I'll put a link in the description for it. They are a little bit cheaper than the Sublivie shirts here. The difference, thickness, this is just slightly thicker, just slightly heavier, not much. Yeah, you could, women, you don't want to wear this in a wet t-shirt contest unless you're maybe looking to win, because you're going to see right through this when it gets wet. But otherwise, I'm happy with this. Sublivie is a brand that I generally use. I just wanted to try these generics. White-wise, the Sublivie is just a little bit whiter than the generic here, and there'll be links for both of these in the description. Do you need to sublimate on both sides like I did? No, you don't. I just like to for my own use. Can you sell shirts with this kind of stuff here on it? No, you can't. Those are copyrighted images. You can make them for yourself, you can make them for your family, you can make them for gifts, but you can't sell them. The one I did with the little saying on the back there about what happens at the campground gets left about all year long, that's a licensed image, and I sell that one. And as well as I have a couple other ones here that I can also sell. But if you're looking to do things like this, and okay, where did I get the image? Well, you get on the web and start looking for pictures, and you can find this stuff if you look hard enough. Just there again, they're copyrighted. Don't try to sell that stuff. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. This was not sponsored by anybody in any way. Everything I have here I bought. So my honest opinion, and nobody's paying me to say anything nice about anything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.